I hope you all had your fill of First Contact Day salmon because we have a lot of Star Trek news to get to. Yes, hello interwebs. Today is First Contact Day, the day where a bunch of us Trekkies get together to celebrate a holiday that technically hasn't even happened yet. The day where humans and Vulcans made first contact, as we saw in the movie Star Trek First Contact. And to celebrate this momentous day in future human history, Star Trek, or I guess Paramount or CBS, somebody gave us a ton of Star Trek panels today, which came with its own bunch of Star Trek news. So while I don't normally do news reacts and things like that, there was a bunch of really cool stuff that happened during these panels that I honestly just had to gush about and talk about and just kind of rant with somebody about because I'm just vibrating with excitement after having watched all the announcements. So let's get right into it. First up, we got Patrick Stewart, P. Stew himself. Yes, I'm using P. Stew because it is just too perfect. Marina Sirtis confirmed that is his nickname from now on. We should all agree on that. But P. Stew himself shared with us a teaser from Star Trek Picard Season 2, which he confirmed has started officially filming. And at the end of this teaser, we got our first confirmation that John Delancey himself, Q, will be returning for Star Trek Picard Season 2. And then John Delancey appeared from his boat, of all things, in the panel. Can we all just talk about how, like, John Delancey being on a boat is, like, the most Q thing ever? I love that. I don't know why, but I just love that. Anywho, honestly, Q coming back for Star Trek Picard was one of the most exciting things that could have happened from this panel. As many of you know, Star Trek Picard Season 1 was probably my least favorite of the sort of modern Star Trek series, but that doesn't mean I wasn't excited by the potential of the show. I think there was a lot of really cool ideas in that first season, and while I don't think they ultimately paid off all of them well, I'm honestly willing to trust the writers, now that they've had a little bit of time to figure out what the series is, to go and do something really cool with the second season. And bringing Q back is honestly one of the best things I think they could have done. And that's for several reasons. First and foremost, the Q and Picard dynamic in The Next Generation was honestly one of my favorite dynamics of the show. Having just finished my rewatch of Star Trek The Next Generation fairly recently, I just remember how wonderful their interactions were. I really like the sort of adversarial but ultimately kind of friendly, like frenemy sort of relationship that they developed by the end of the series, how Q ended up really liking Picard, and Picard begrudgingly came to understand that while he didn't love Q, that Q was kind of trying to help humanity along. And I just think that that's just such a wonderful dynamic to continue to play with, and ultimately it's one that I really want to see some sort of resolution with, given that this is probably going to be Patrick Stewart's swan song for the character of Picard. We know that there's at least probably 2 more seasons of Picard, but then after that, this might be the end of Patrick Stewart's time playing the character Picard, and perhaps for Picard just in general, until maybe there's a reboot or a Kelvin timeline version of the character, things like that. And given how the last time we saw Patrick Stewart with Q was Q saying, like, the human journey continues, the trial never ends on humanity, and that he said he was going to check in on Picard.
I'll be watching. And if you're very lucky, I'll drop by to say hello from time to time.
It ultimately would have felt a little bit disappointing if John Delancey never came back to have his sort of final say and final moments with Picard. So I'm honestly just very excited to see him return, and very excited to see what they're going to do with John Delancey's return. So I think there's just so much potential there, and I think it kind of feeds into the theme and the swan song nature of this sort of like what Picard as a series is. The other thing too that's interesting to note is the other confirmed casting that we've known for Star Trek Picard Season 2 for a long time now is that Whoopi Goldberg is going to be coming back as Guinan. And given that there was always these illusions that Q and Guinan had this long history and that they had this adversarial relationship throughout Next Generation, I'm ultimately kind of excited to see if that eventually gets paid off within Star Trek Picard, because that's something that we as fans have speculated on for so long. So there is potential here for the writers of Star Trek Picard to actually give some resolution, or at least a little bit more teases and clarity to their background. I don't necessarily want there to be something super, super concrete about their history, but it's been so nebulous for so long, and we've speculated for so long. I would love a little bit of filling that out in canon. I think that just having that potential is just kind of really exciting and kind of really cool. So overall, with this tease that John Delancey will be coming back as Q, I am very pumped for Star Trek Picard Season 2, even considering my reservations based off of Star Trek Picard Season 1. But there's still more to get to, because the next thing that we got here on Star Trek First Contact Day was some very exciting news that Star Trek Discovery Season 4 will in fact be coming in 2021. Yes, they did confirm that Star Trek Discovery will be coming this year. I was not really expecting that, given COVID and the pandemic and everything like that, and some sort of news potentially coming out that Discovery, while it had been filming recently season 4, that it might be delayed, things like that. I was kind of expecting it to come in 2022, but we got confirmation here that it is coming this year. I would expect probably not until December, November, late in the year, sort of, going into 2022 for the latter half of the season, but it is nice to know that it is coming a little bit sooner than we actually anticipated. And with that, they gave us a really cool look and trailer for the trailer. Looked really, really fun. There wasn't a ton of crazy stuff and crazy imagery within the trailer itself. I'm assuming most of it is just from like their first few days of filming, first few like episodes, probably mostly from the premiere episode of the footage that we were seeing here, because that's probably about all they've had time to sort of shoot and get through the color grading and all the processes that they need to do to be able to put out a trailer like this. But there were a few interesting things to glean from the trailer. Some things I'm excited for and some things I'm a little bit hesitant on. First and foremost, they gave us a look at the new uniforms for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, where they actually kind of took that like gray uniform that they had in Season 3, but added color to them. They made them like red and blue and yellow, sort of matching the colors that we've always had for Star Trek divisions. And I have to say, this really does wonders for me, honestly. A lot of you know that at the end of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, when they put the Discovery crew in those sort of gray uniforms, I was kind of a bit disappointed because I thought they kind of got lost in the bronzy nature of the Discovery bridge. While I liked those uniforms, I didn't really like them on the Discovery crew. And also, to be fair, while I liked them on the sort of like new Starfleet types, I didn't really love them as much because I don't really like gray uniforms. They come across as a bit fascisty, totalitarian-y, which doesn't really match the Starfleet like poppy colors that I really love. I think Starfleet should be a little bit more vibrant and upbeat and playful, and so I think that sort of giving these new uniforms that sort of color pop really works for me, and I honestly really love them. I will definitely be buying them for my cosplay. So just I think that these look really cool, and I'm excited to hear what everyone else thinks about those uniforms. I think they look really nice. The other thing, too, is sort of other big thing from the trailer that we got is kind of a hint towards what the season-long story arc will be, at least what it will start off as. And we sort of got this hint that there's basically an electrical discharge of this weird anomaly that is a huge anomaly that's stretching across this sector of space.
5 light years across. That's the size of the gravitational anomaly.
That is sort of traveling through Federation space or something like that, or nearby, and the Discovery crew has to go and figure out what's going on with it. A couple things with that that I'm kind of tentative about, because this is another one of those like mystery box kind of storylines it seems to be setting up of like, ooh, something strange is happening, and we need to go and figure out what caused it or why it's there, sort of thing. It reminds me a lot of like the red bursts from Star Trek Discovery Season 2. And this kind of has me hesitant because, again, it kind of sounds like that mystery box thing, which is like this big mystery that's set up at the beginning of the season, and we'll sort of like have to go through the whole season to kind of figure out what it is or what's behind it, sort of thing. Which, as we kind of saw with my feelings towards the Burn and even the Red Angel in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, I don't really like these mystery box type storytelling things, especially in Star Trek and serialized storytelling. I'm not to say that it can't pay off well, but generally when Star Trek Discovery's done that, it ultimately has felt disappointing by the time they ultimately reveal what this answer to this mystery is. So I hope that if they're going down this route, that it's sort of just starting off the season and it's not going to be the season-long mystery, that it's just sort of the kernel of the idea that starts everything off, because ultimately I'm kind of tentative about that being sort of where this story is going to go for the rest of the season. But again, this is just a quick trailer, probably mostly from the first episode, so maybe it's just the first issue that they're encountering, or it just sort of sets off other things or creates a situation that happens. But ultimately, I really hope that if they are going to keep going the serialized route, which obviously they're going to do because that's sort of what Discovery does, then I hope that they kind of create a more concrete storyline. It's why I like Star Trek Discovery Season 1 quite a bit, despite some of the failings of that season. That was a storyline that felt very concrete, and it was like a situation situation that they had to deal with the Klingon War. It's like, we have a Klingon War, we have to deal with it, what are we going to do? And then the mystery box elements of that season, like surrounding the Mirror Universe and Voke and Tyler, stuff like that, that was where some of the things fell apart in that season. But I think the Klingon War storyline itself, as sort of an idea and concept to play around with, given that it was much more concrete in nature, would be much more interesting. So I'm hoping that with Discovery Season 4, they'll be able to use the sort of new playground that they've given themselves in the 31st century to tell more dynamic storytelling and do some world building, as opposed to kind of focusing on the mystery box element. But again, I'm kind of reading a lot into this simple trailer, so I'd love to hear what all of you think about potential storylines from that trailer. Some other things too, there were some small bits from that trailer that we saw, like obviously the Nivari, the Vulcan president from Star Trek Discovery Season 3, appears that she's going to be back for Season 4, for at least for an episode or so, and that we're going to be getting some more Kelpian characters, that we're going to get a little bit more of Kaminar and sort of Saru species building out there, considering that they're sort of the landmark alien for Discovery. That's kind of to be expected, and exciting to learn that we'll get more of their culture, especially in the culture of Kaminar in the 31st century. All that stuff's a lot of fun. So, not a lot to go on, but enough to sort of like get us all speculating for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, and again, excited to see it's coming this year. But moving on to the next piece of news, we got another trailer in the form of a trailer for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, which was confirmed to be coming in August of this year. So just a few more months and we'll be getting that sweet, sweet Star Trek back on our screens. I'm so pumped for this. You know, the more that I've gotten away from Lower Decks Season 1, the more I've kind of realized like how much I loved that show. I think Lower Decks might honestly be my favorite modern Star Trek show right now. I think it just kind of captures everything that I love about Star Trek while also adding its own flavor, and what the flavor of Lower Decks is very much my sort of love of things. Like, I love comedy, I love irreverent humor, I love sort of like deconstruction of tropes and ideas that I really love, while also still upholding the values and things that I love about Star Trek. So I'm just very excited to see Lower Decks coming back, because like I said, I think it just kind of fits my personality so well, and I understand that it's a very acquired taste Star Trek show for many different people, but for me it is like the exact taste that I am here for. So just so excited to see that Lower Decks is going to be coming back for Season 2, and Mike McMahon confirmed that Lower Decks did get renewed for a Season 3, which I just makes me very happy. We're just going to be getting a lot of Lower Decks for the foreseeable future, and considering how much I love that show, I'm just very excited about it. And looking at the teaser, there wasn't really anything specifically new that we didn't already know about the season. There's not much to speculate on. Obviously, we got confirmation that Boimler will at least be spending an episode over on the Titan, and that Jonathan Frakes will be reprising his role as Riker in that season. We got a little bit of hints of that, and then sort of obviously Mariner and the rest of the Cerritos crew kind of dealing with the fact that Boimler, kind of paced out of there and said, "Screw you guys, I'm gonna go get my promotion." But that's all kind of stuff that we kind of figured based on the ending of Season 1. So nothing really exciting in terms of the teaser, in terms of speculation stuff, but it's just nice to know that we'll be getting it soon, and that there will be a Season 3 on the horizon. So ultimately, just so pumped for Lower Decks to be coming soon, and obviously I will be doing reviews of each and every one of those, because I'm a maniac who likes to have no free time for herself and just likes giving you all those reviews. You know I love it. You know I love it. I do it for you. I do it for you and me and you and me. I'm gonna stop this. I was hoping this joke would go somewhere, but it didn't. So I'm just gonna let it die. Just let it die, Jessie. Nope. You're gonna keep going with it. All right. We're just here. All right. Moving on. I'm a weirdo. Oh boy. Before we get to the final piece of Star Trek news, it also is worth mentioning that the Nichelle Nichols NASA documentary, Women in Motion, got a trailer released as well. And they announced that documentary will be coming out on Paramount Plus later this year. So I am very excited to see that, because I actually didn't know much about Nichelle Nichols' history with NASA and how important she was to the NASA space program and black women within NASA as well. So that's just a cool part of history that even I, as a Star Trek fan and someone who loves NASA and space history and stuff like that, even I didn't know that stuff. So I'm just very much looking forward to this documentary. And it's cool that it'll be on Paramount Plus. Because then I already have a subscription, so it's just like, I'll just get it for free. Kind of not really. I mean, it's still capitalism, still paying for it, but, you know, let me have this, okay? It's a cool doc that I'm very excited for. But that brings us to our final big piece of Star Trek news that happened today, which is they released the first image of Janeway from the upcoming Nickelodeon animated Star Trek show, Star Trek Prodigy. She looks she looks so incredibly cool. They also revealed that this Janeway is, like I kind of speculated in a few of my streams that I did recently, that the Janeway that is going to be appearing in the show is not actually Janeway herself. It will be the command training program, that she will be a hologram sort of teaching the kids how to use the ship. They also confirmed that the show would take place several years after Star Trek Voyager, so it is sort of set post Star Trek Voyager, so that's super exciting. We're going to be building out new canon, and it is set within the Delta Quadrant, so we're going to be going back there and sort of seeing what the Delta Quadrant's like after Voyager. So that might mean we might get the Borg, we'll definitely get maybe some Kazon, because everyone loves the Kazon. They're very exciting species, but we'll get like the Hirogen, stuff like that. I would expect we're going to see all those aliens come back, but also sort of flesh out the Delta Quadrant in a way that we didn't really get a chance to. So very excited for that. And like I said, I think probably the thing I would be most excited for in terms of pre-existing canon within that show is just maybe seeing what's going on with the Borg post Star Trek Nemesis, because we got a little hints with it within Picard, Star Trek Picard, but not a whole lot. But beyond that, I really just hope that they take Prodigy as a chance to sort of build out new canon and new ideas within the Delta Quadrant and the rest of the Star Trek universe. So really excited to sort of see what they're going to do with that there. But ultimately, going back to the sort of big news, what Janeway looks like within the show, I really, really loved her image. I love that she has the coffee cup in her hand. That's so true to Janeway form. I think she looks really, really good. She fits perfectly within that style of the show. And honestly, I have to say, I am probably most excited for Prodigy outside of Lower Decks. I'm excited for Picard, I'm excited for Discovery, but I think Prodigy has a chance to do something entirely new for Star Trek. It's the first Star Trek kids show, but it'll also be the first Star Trek show that doesn't seem like it has a majority Starfleet crew or post Starfleet crew. Picard kind of doesn't focus on Starfleet crew members, but a lot of the cast were at one point in Starfleet. So Prodigy is going to be fully like just focused on non-Starfleet characters, and I think that that's honestly kind of exciting. And given how well developed and mature children's animated television has gotten in previous years with shows like Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts, She-Ra, Owl House, Gravity Falls, given like how wonderful and fleshed out those shows are, the Troll Hunter series, which the creators of Star Trek Prodigy also helped make, those are all shows that I think are really kind of very richly themed, richly developed, and honestly have become some of my favorite TV shows of the past like few years. So when we say it's a kid's show, I don't think that means that it's going to be any less complex and interesting and varied and sort of deep as a series. In fact, I think it might give it a chance, because it's not one of those live action shows that has to adhere to, the strict rules of what we think Star Trek has to be, that it can sort of play in its own sandbox, that Prodigy has a chance to sort of do new and different and crazy things, which is what Star Trek should be doing. It should be exploring strange new worlds and new storylines and new civilizations and all those things. So ultimately, I kind of, like Lower Decks, think that Prodigy has the chance to sort of like slip under the radar as an animated series and do something kind of crazy, kind of different, kind of new for Star Trek, and really build out the canon of what Star Trek can be. I mean, if we look at like other franchises like Star Wars, you look at Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Resistance, even though I didn't love that show, those were the bases for a lot of what Star Wars has become. Like a lot of the stuff that people really react to positively and love in The Mandalorian all kind of had its roots in the animated series. So I feel like Prodigy and Lower Decks as well kind of have this chance to sort of build out this new universe of Star Trek in the modern era in a way that live action shows maybe 5-6 years from now will start to draw from for their own ideas and concepts, because they'll be allowed to play a little bit more in the animated space, and then live action will sort of catch up to that because they can take the risk in animated form, that see what works, and then live action sort of take from those. So really, I think if you want an idea of what Star Trek's going to look like 5, 6, 7 years from now, I think Prodigy might be the place where you're going to get your first teases of that. And so with that in mind, I am just sitting here with bated breath for what Prodigy is and what it can be. I am honestly very excited, and I will champion that show up until it comes out, and then I'll sort of like take it as it is. But right now, I'm just hotly anticipating it overall. All right, all that being said, that is all the news from from First Contact Day. I am going to go into my First Contact Day salmon coma and just relax, but I had to geek out about all of this because it was just so exciting to watch. I also recommend, if you didn't get a chance to just watch all of the panels in general, I think there were some really, really great ones. I think the particular highlight for me was the Women in Motion panel that they did, sort of like with a bunch of women throughout the different Star Trek franchises today, and they were sort of talking about their experiences about what it means to be women in Star Trek, also highlighting Nichelle Nichols as well and her history and her importance to the franchise. So I'd recommend that panel if you watch any of them, but they were all really worthwhile and a lot of fun, so recommend all of them, but that one in particular. But beyond that, thank you so much for watching. What are you excited for? I'd love to hear all that down in the comments, but beyond that, I hope that you, as always, live long and prosper, and happy First Contact Day. Patrons, it is time to assemble! Catherine Lambeth, Miranda Janelle, Ashley Allen, Bokikio, Eli Bergmoss, Ashlyn Solstice, John Cool, Greg Gillum, Stephen Kleinard, Chamomile T, Randy Thompson, Wellington Marcus, Boyd Earl, and Marybeth Earl, Stephen Schuhart, Wayne Twitchell, Auntie Kate, 808, Rick Osborne, Dominic Noble, Ish the Mad, Buttoneer, John Steele, Meadow Whisperer, Gavin Robinson, Michael Beam, Munir Amlani, BBD, Jason Knott, Hannah F, Andrew K, Bree Beecher, Jasmine, Sky Skinner, Maeve, Skylar Gray, Flynn Nathan Steele, Tiffany Danger, Sean Piper, Geek Filter, Jane Packard, Wen Dizzle Bizzle. Why do I do this to myself? Sarah Bystem, James Karate, Jacob Tovar, W. Randy, Edie, Mari Neckar, Bush, Celestial Dawn, Din, Mark the Edge, Pissed and Twisted Garage, Lily, Polly Mina, Laura Demo, Liza, Nikki, Gordon, Bloomfield, Andrew, Lama Rose, Zone 1 Librarian, Jenny Mabel, Michael Hardy, and finally, Corey Honkanen and Vale. Done. All right, not my best patron rap, but I figured it would still be fun for you to see all my failure on screen, immortalized in every video this month. Also, I know I mixed Captain America and Superwoman. Deal with it. But thank you, honestly, to all my patrons. I really appreciate all of you, and you really mean a lot to me. I would not be able to do this without you. Thank you so much for supporting me being an absolute dork and weirdo. I wish you all the best.